Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text 24 and 25. Bhakti Pravaha Yogena Vairagyena Bhaliyasa Yuktanushtana Jatena Jnanena Brahmahetuna Vishuddhena Tadatmanam Atmana Vishvato Mukham Swanubhutya Tiro Bhuta Maya Guna Viseshanam Bhakti Pravaha Yogena Vairagyena Bhaliyasa Yuktanushtana Jatena Jnanena Brahmahetuna Vishuddhena Tadatmanam Atmana Vishvato Mukham Swanubhutya Tiro Bhuta Maya Guna Viseshanam Bhakti Pravaha Yogena Vairagyena Bhaliyasa Yuktanushtana Jatena Jnanena Brahmahetuna Vishuddhena Tadatmanam Atmana Vishvato Mukham Swanubhutya Tirobhuta Maya Guna Viseshanam. Synonyms: Bhakti Pravaha Yogena, by continuous engagement in the devotional service; Vairagyena, by renunciation; Baliyasa, very strong; Yukta Anushtana, by proper performance of duties; Jatena, produced; Jnanena, by knowledge; Brahma Hetuna, due to realization of the absolute truth; Vishuddhena, by purification; Tada, then; Atmanam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead; Atmana, with the mind; Vishvata Mukha, whose face is turned everywhere; Swa Anubhutya, by self realization; Tirah Bhuta, disappeared; Maya Guna, of the modes of material nature; Visheshanam, distinctions. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: She did so with serious engagement in devotional service because she was strong in renunciation. She accepted only necessities of the body. She became situated in the knowledge due to realization of the absolute truth. Her heart became purified. She became fully absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all misgivings due to the modes of material nature disappeared. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद. I humbly bow down to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank them for giving me an opportunity for purifying myself. So for today, we have a verse 24 and 24 from 25 from chapter 33, which is titled "Activities of Kapil Deva." And so, in context to this verse, we don't have a purport for this verse, so I'll try to go over some of the from the translation. I'll take important points and we can talk about that. But just leading into this verse, we saw the previous verse talks about how Devahuti got the instructions from Kapila Dev, and how she heard about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it all starts with eagerness to hear. So Srila Prabhupada, the purport talks about the eagerness to hear, which is exemplified in the Bhagavatam in multiple places. So what is being spoken about here is the journey, or the like once one starts the process of devotional service, how does the love for Godhead set in, and how one becomes situated in this process of bhakti yoga continuously. So that has been explained here, and we see this explained in different paradigms in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and in different places in the Bhagavatam. So we know that the different stages of bhakti starts with Ado Shraddha. Shraddha is the starting point where we have this implicit faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then Tada Sadhu Sangha, then we associate with the devotees, and then Bhajana Kriya, where we do devotional activities, and then Anartha Nivriti, where all our misgivings are slowly and removed by the power of the holy name. and then Nishta, and then so all these different stages after Anartha Nivritti is all elevated stages of bhakti. So here, so that is what is being explained here. So Mother Devahuti heard from Kapila Deva, and she heard with eagerness to know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is similar to the verse we hear from the in the morning recitation prayers where we say Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. So once we hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the first thing which happens is Hridayantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. So the all the impurities in the heart are completely eliminated. So that's what here it's mentioned, and all misgivings due to the material modes of nature disappeared, and her heart became purified. So those are two words, two important points which Srila Prabhupada makes in this translation of this verse. And the first word of this verse is that Bhakti Pravahena. So Pravaha is a continuous flow of water, and we have heard about Bhavat Pravaha, which is like the ocean of birth and death. So similarly, Bhakti Pravaha is like undeterred devotional service. So I was thinking like this is just exactly what Srimad Bhagavatam talks about in the first canto. It says Nashta Praya Shabadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya is Bhakti Pravaha, or which is continuous devotional service or intense devotional service. And we also see in the Srimad Bhagavatam where it is mentioned Akama Sarva Kamova Moksha Kama Udaradihi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Ejeta Purushah Param. So if one wants material desires, or if one is completely desireless, if one wants if an intelligent person is supposed to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with Tivrena Bhakti, which is intense devotional service. So that is the first quality of a person who is involved in, situated in devotional service, and is taking his steps towards reaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And secondly, it's mentioned about austerity, and so austerity is pretty important. So today is Ekadasi, and we fast from grains. So austerity of the body, austerity of the mind. The Bhagavad Gita talks about there are different types of austerity, and for example, austerity of speech. And the Bhagavad Gita says, Anudvega karam vacham satyam priyam hitam cha swadhyayam swapan vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapo uchyate. So for a speech, there are different types of austerity where you don't talk which is exciting for others. Anudvega karam vacham satyam priyam hitam. Talk this truth, and talk which is priya hitam, which is beneficial for others, and also priya, which is like pleasing to hear. Swadhyayam, and talking, reciting the Vedic scriptures. Abhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapo uchyate, and practicing practicing reciting of Vedic scriptures. Those are all parts by which one can perform austerity with his speech. So this is with respect to speech. So there are different types of austerities, and by performing austerities, the strength or the spiritual strength increases. And the next point which is being mentioned, so I just wanted to draw some parallels between this and the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where there is a series of verses which talks about how a living entity, once he starts this process of hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, starting from Srinvatam Sakata Krishna, so how does this process of cleansing the heart happen? So it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's simply mentioned that the heart became purified. So how does this happen? So the heart, it's mentioned that tada rajo tamo bhavas kama lobhadayasche chetayete ranavidam stitam sattve prasiddhati. So we are always bound by the modes of material nature, namely the sattva, rajas, and tamas. But the rajas and tamas are negative forces which draw us towards this material world. But being situated in sattva, we can move towards the higher realizations of life. So basically, what happens is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tada rajo tamo bhavas kama lobha dayasche cheta ete rana vidam sitam sattve prasiddhati. So once we take to this process of continuous engagement in devotional service by Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, by hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead through serving Srimad Bhagavatam and the devotees, then the tada tamo bhavas kama lobha dayasche. So all the kama and lobha and the caused by rajas and tamas, they are gradually removed by this process of devotional service, and one is situated in the Sthitam Sattve Prasiddhati. And then it's mentioned, and she became fully absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, how would that happen? So, that again is explained in the next verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. So, once the heart is purified, then the next step is that when one is situated in the sattva guna, then prasanna manasa, the mind becomes very unwavered, and then it's very focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by that the love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead develops. So that's how one becomes more absorbed in the meditation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And once this happened, the next verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, talks about what happens and how this process takes one from this realm to the spiritual realm. So it's mentioned, Bidyate hridaya granthis, chidyante sarva samshaya, shiyante chasya karmani, trishtayevat manishware. So then the knots in the heart, which are attachment to our family members, our own body, or any kind of such attachments, so that those knots are removed. Vidyate hridaya granthi, chidyante sarva samshaya. All doubts in the heart are removed. And shiyante chasya karmani drishtayevat manishware. And then one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the heart. So that's what is being mentioned here. She became fully absorbed in the meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then all misgivings due to the modes of material nature disappeared. So this is the process, and the Srimad Bhagavatam gives elaborate explanations about each of these steps in the process. And this is basically the steps which one takes from Shraddha, which is to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the way to Nishta, which is the Brahman realization, and from there Asakti and Ruchi and Prema, all those are higher stages of Bhakti. So here in this one verse, what is being explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam is just a condensed version of what happens when one takes up to the process of devotional service. So the devotional service starts with having the faith to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a bona fide representative. And this is explained by Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well, where he says, Tadviddi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. So one has to go to a self-realized soul and hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having a humility in the heart, and then rendering service to him. So by that, one will be able to know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the first step, which is Ado Shraddha. And then once that has happened, then the process of devotional service should be constant. So it's not like a start and a stop where you start for one day and then do for 2 weeks and then stop for 2 weeks and then start and again. So it's a continuous process. That's what is being mentioned here as Bhakti Pravaha. So the continuous process, which Srimad Bhagavatam explains as Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So that starts, and once that is started, then it starts with the next process of cleansing, where the heart becomes purified. Then one gets because of elimination of rajas and tamas, and once that is done, one can be completely absorbed in the meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and basically all the misgivings due to rajas, tamas, and all the modes of material nature are gradually disappeared, and one gets steadily established in the process of devotional service. So that's some of the few points which I could gather on this verse. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to purify.